Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Right. So now we are going to start with classes and objects. What do you mean by class and what do you mean by object? Class is nothing but it's a collection of properties and methods. So we can say class is nothing but a template, okay, which is a collection of properties and methods. Properties are nothing but variables and methods are nothing but functions. And object is nothing but it's an instance of a class. Okay, it's an instance of a class. In Python, if you want to define a class, what you have to do is you have to say class keyword followed by class name. Let's say employee. So here I have started the class name with capital letter. So it's not mandatory that you should start the class name with capital letter. It's just a convention, coding standards. That's it. You can have the class name starting with lowercase letter as well. And then you have to place the colon, or you can say like this, empty parenthesis or colon, or you can say object and then colon. So you can define empty, that is, you can define the class any one of these particular format. Like you can say class employee colon, okay, and then pass. This is one empty class, or you can just write class employee open parenthesis close parenthesis and then colon, and then you can say pass, or else you can say class employee of object and then you can say pass. Okay, so all these definitions are same. There is no change in it. So what is this object? This object is nothing but the superclass. Okay, superclass for all the classes that you are going to create. Okay, this object is nothing but the superclass for all the classes that you are going to create. All right. Yeah. Hi, Akhilesh.
No worries, please continue. Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah. No problem. No problem. Okay. So now I have defined one empty class which doesn't contain any properties and methods. Okay. So now let me define some object for this particular class. Okay. Let's say create the instances of the class employee. How we can create the instances? We can write print creating object 1. I can say object 1 is equal to employee open parenthesis and close parenthesis. So this is how you can create the object. Okay, and let me create one more object. Let's say creating object 2, and then I can write object 2 is equal to employee. So now I have created two different objects which belongs to the same class employee. Let me just print those two objects. Let's say object 1 obj underscore 1 and let me print object2 obj underscore 2. All right. So whatever what we have done so far, we have just created the empty class, okay, which doesn't contain any properties and methods, and we have created two different instances, okay, object1 and object2, which belongs to the class employee, and then we have just displayed those objects. That's it, nothing we have done. Okay, let me execute it now. Let's say python oops.py. So now you can see creating object1, creating object2, and it is printing the reference. Whenever you display the object, it is printing the reference, that is to which class it belongs to, employee object at some reference. Okay, and this is nothing but the name of the module. Whatever script that you are executing in the command line, by default, that particular module will be assigned with the name underscore underscore main underscore underscore. And if you want to know that, you can just say name of the module. Okay, so I can just write underscore underscore name underscore underscore. Okay, so we have seen one variable called underscore underscore doc underscore underscore, which is used to print the document string, right? Similarly, we have something called underscore underscore name underscore underscore, which is used to display the name of the module. Okay, so now you can see the output. Name of the module is double dash main double dash, and then object1 reference, object2 reference. Okay, yeah, take it down, guys, please take it down. Let me know once it is done.
What is the use of empty class?
Empty class, like for example, if you are defining your own exception, okay, so that time you can just inherit another class. Okay, so that we'll be seeing a bit later on. Okay, whenever you define the user defined exception, if you don't want to define any methods in it, you can just leave it empty, but that class still will be considered as exception. Okay, we will see that. So it will be useful only when you inherit some other class, otherwise it is not useful. Okay, guys, completed?
Yeah, completed.
Okay, now I'm going to define some attributes inside this class. Okay, so let's say e-name is equal to Justin and e-location is equal to Bangalore. I have defined some attributes inside this particular class. Now let me access those attributes outside the class. Access e-name. So this particular, that is, if you define any attributes at the class level, you can access that attribute either using class name or using object name. Okay, so now you can see, first let me access using class. I can write employee dot ename, and using object1 obj1 dot ename and print using object2 obj2 dot ename. Okay, so now what will happen in this case? All three statements will display the same name. Using class, it is Justin. Using object1, it is Justin. And using object2, it is Justin. What is the necessity of creating different objects? That is, each and every object can have its own property, that is, own value. For example, consider employee. Okay, all employees cannot have same name, right? So object1 can have another name, object2 can have some different name. So how can we achieve that? Okay, so now we need to initialize the object. Whenever the object is getting created, we have to initialize the object. With respect to Java, we will call it as constructor, constructing the object. So here we have a method, that is inbuilt method called underscore underscore init underscore underscore of self. Okay, and then here I'm just writing object initialized, and then I'm printing this self. So this method will be invoked automatically whenever the object is getting created. It is not required for us to initialize this particular method. Okay, this method will be invoked automatically whenever the object is getting created. And what is this self? What is this self? This self is the parameter which will be passed automatically, okay, with the reference, the being created. Okay, self refers to the reference of the object which is being created. So whatever method that you place inside the class, okay, whatever method that you place inside the class, the first parameter should be self. Only then you can use the instance variable inside that particular method. We will talk about instance variable a bit later on. All right, and this is not a keyword. You can have any name. See, I can have obj also. I can have obj also. In this case also it will work fine. See here, creating object1, object initialized. Creating object2, object initialized. You can see the reference CD9E8, CD9E8, CD978, CD978. So you can have any name. Then why we have to strict with self? Just for the better understanding. Because from the days it is introduced, it is coming with the parameter name self. So please don't change. It's just for readability and for better understanding by other users. Okay, so now also you can see the same output there. All right, so now what we can do, I can create the instance variables. Instance variable are the variables which are specific to that particular instance, which are unique in that particular instance. So I can say self.ename is equal to Tris, self.eloc is equal to Pune, and self.et is equal to testing. So I can create any variable. It is not mandatory that this variable should exist at the class level. There is no relation at all. You can create any number of variables prefixed with the self dot. If you say self dot, that is referred to as instance variable. That is referred to as instance variable. So now what will happen if I execute? you can see using class, okay, using class employee.ename. Employee.ename is nothing but Justin, which will point the value which is declared at the class level, that is this one. Employee.ename is Justin. And using object1 is Tris, because this method will be invoked whenever you create the object. So this reference will be created. obj1.ename is equal to Tris. And also using object2, it is Tris. So as I told before, what is the necessity of creating different objects? Each and every object should have its unique values. Okay, so for that, what we have to do is, I have to pass the parameter. Whenever the object is getting created, I have to pass the parameter over there. So what can I do is, I can say self comma name comma location comma team. And if you want to have default parameter, yes, you can have by following the rule non-default followed by default. So location is equal to Bangalore, and then team is equal to testing. So now what we can do here, I can say self.ename is equal to name, self.elocation is equal to location, and self.eteam is equal to team. And then over here, what can I do is obj1 is equal to employee of, I can say Clark, and second manual comma team is equal to support. Now what will happen in this case? Class name dot ename gives you Justin. obj1 dot ename gives you Clark, and obj2 dot ename gives you manual. So now we have differentiated each and every object that we are going to create. All right. Any questions?
So self is in other programming language, is it kind of constructor in Java?
This init is nothing but constructor.
Init is constructor, and this is nothing but self.
Yes, this is nothing but self.
Got
Okay,
it, got it.
self is nothing but it's a reference to the object that we are going to create. Okay, init is nothing but constructor. Okay. Yeah, so please try it out. Guys, please try it out. And then we'll see some more methods. And let me know once it is done. Guys, is it done?
Yes, done. For me.
Akhilesh, what about you?
Yeah, Mohan, it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now whenever I print this object, it is printing the reference like this. Okay. So now if I want to print the object in some readable format, okay, so displays the object in string format. So we have some method called underscore underscore str of self. So whatever you return from this particular method, okay, whatever you return from this particular method, that will be printed whenever the object is getting displayed. So now you can see the difference in the output. Now you can see the reference is getting printed, right? Okay, so now if I execute the script, you can see whatever I return from that particular method, it's getting displayed. So what we can do, this instance variable will be accessed throughout this particular class. Okay, throughout this particular class, even though if the variable is private. We will talk about private variable next to this. Okay, so what we can do here, I can just write, okay, so I can just write f, it's nothing but formatted string. Okay, that is, I can write self.ename from self.eloc. Okay, self.ename from self.eloc. So within the curly braces, you have to mention the variable name, that is what needs to be printed. Okay, and for this representation, you have to prefix the string with f, which is nothing but formatted. Okay, so now if I execute this, you can see the output. Object 1 is Clark from Bangalore, object 2 Manuel from Bangalore, and object 1 you can see Clark from Bangalore, object 2 Manuel from Bangalore. So whatever you return from this particular method, that will be printed when you display the object. Okay, now any variable that you define will be public. These variables are accessible even outside the class, that you can see here, ename is getting accessed. Now consider, I want to create a variable that should be accessed only within the class, not outside the class. So for that, what we can do is, I'm going to define one more variable called salary is equal to 5,000, and then I can write self dot underscore underscore esal is equal to sal. That is, if you prefix the variable name with a double underscore, that variable is considered as private, and that variable can be accessed only within the class, not outside the class. So now let me just write it over here. Earns rupees self dot underscore underscore esal. Okay, and let me give some variable, some value here, 15,000. Sal is equal to 15,000. Okay, so now this str method is present within the class, right? So now you can see Clark from Bangalore earns rupees 15,000, Manuel from Bangalore earns rupees 5,000. But when I try to access the variable outside the class, let's say access salary, esal, okay? So let me just say object 1 salary, let me give obj1 dot underscore underscore esal. So now what will happen in this? Let's see the output. You can see the error saying line 56, employee object has no attribute underscore underscore esal. So in this case, what we can do is, I can define one method, okay, get the salary. I can say def get salary of self, and then I can just write return self dot underscore underscore esal. All right, so now what we can do, instead of accessing the salary using the variable name, I can just write get salary. All right, so now you can see the output. Object 1 salary is 15,000, and similarly, if you want to modify that, I can define my own method. Let's say increment the salary. Okay, I can write def incr salary of self comma amount. Okay, so you can have any logic inside this. You can have any logic. Okay, so I can just say self dot underscore underscore esal plus equal to amount. So I'm just incrementing it directly. Okay, and then either you can return self dot underscore underscore esal directly, or you can call that method self dot get salary. This is how you can call the method within the class. Okay, either you can just return like this, return self dot underscore underscore esal, or return self dot get salary. So now what will happen in this case? You can see, okay, let me just call that. So now print increment 10,000. So I can write obj1 dot incr salary of 10,000. Okay, so now you can see the output. Increment 10,000, it is now 25,000 now. So now from now on, if you refer that particular variable, okay, for example, I'm just printing object one now, object one now, okay, obj underscore one. Now you can see the salary will print 25,000. Before it was printing 15,000. Now it will print 25,000 because we have modified that particular variable. All right, guys, any doubts? Any doubts you have? Yeah, take it down, guys, please take it down. Take it down, and then I will scroll it down, okay? Take these three methods, and then I will scroll it down. So guys, it is done.
Scroll down, no? This.
Yeah. What about you, Akhilesh? No, Akhilesh, you are not audible. Yeah. So guys, done.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, done now.
Done, right? Okay. Akhilesh, you are done. Okay. Right. So now let's see how we can create static method. So static method is the one which we can invoke using the class name itself. Okay, that is in which we will not be using any instance variables. We will be using only the class variables inside. So let me define a method like this. Okay, that is I can write def display underscore detail without the parameter self, and then I can write return formatted string. Inside I can write employee dot ename from employee dot e location. Okay, I have defined one method called display detail. I'm not passing self as the parameter.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Then I have just placed one formatted string, that is employee.ename from employee.elocation. So if I want to access that method, let's say access static method, I can write print, okay, static method output. So I can just say employee dot display detail, okay, static method using class, okay. So it is not required for you to instantiate it. You can directly invoke it like this. So now you can see the output, Justin from Bangalore, because we are directly referencing the class variables. Now, if you see initially, we had, before creating the instance variables, we had accessed the class variable by both class name as well as the object name, right? So we are able to access the variable using both the class name as well as the object name. And why can't we access the static method using the object name? Let's try that. Okay, so now I am just accessing static method using object. I'm just writing obj underscore 1 dot display detail. Now let's see the output. I am getting the error saying, that is in line number 77. Line number 77. What is the error? Display detail takes 0 positional arguments. Yes, that's right. Absolutely right. It is not taking any arguments. But one was given. We are passing one argument to that object. What is that object? Sorry, what is that parameter which is being passed? The reference. Because if you see obj1 dot get salary, here also I'm not passing any parameter, and obj1 dot increment salary of 10,000. So if you see this, self is there. So whenever you invoke any method using the object name, self is passed implicitly, but there is no parameter in order to catch it. For example, okay, so if I want to access this kind of methods, if I want to access this kind of methods using the instance name, what should I do is, I should let interpreter know that this is a static method. What can I do for that? I have to annotate it. I have to decorate it. So the decorators in Python will be represented using @ symbol. Okay, I have to say this method is a static method. That is @ static method. This is predefined decorators. Okay, so now this particular method can be accessed either by using the class name or by using the object name. You will not be getting any error. You can see here, Justin from Bangalore, Justin from Bangalore. There is no error now. It is working fine. Got it? Yeah, take it down, guys. So please take it down. That's done. Can I scroll down?
Yes, Mohan.
Just a second. Yeah, you can see this, and then we will see the concept of inheritance.
This is similar to Java only, the object-oriented concept.
Yes. See, the thing is, that is generic, right? Okay, that is generic. Object-oriented concepts, they have implemented in Java, that's it. Okay, the thing is,
Correct.
the way we can implement in Python as well. Okay, the easy, like when compared to Java, in Python it is very easy to implement. Lesser number of lines of code you can write. Okay, so guys, done? So let me know once it is done. I'm going to create another file for inheritance. Okay, so Ravi, are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you, Akhilesh. Okay, so now I'll let me write the new file, which is nothing but inheritance.py. So what do you mean by inheritance? That is using the properties from another class. Okay, the concept of inheritance is nothing but using the properties and methods from another class. That's nothing but inheritance. So a class which is inherited, it's called as base class or parent class or superclass. A class which is inheriting another class, it's called as derived class or child class or subclass. Okay, now we have 4 different types of inheritance. Okay, so first one, we are going to see single inheritance, wherein class 1 is inherited by class 2. Okay, so let's write a class A which has some init method, print in A, and then let me write another class B, and let's write a init method now, and then let's write print in B. So now let's consider class A as parent class and class B as child class of parent A. That is, class B inherits class A. This is how you can inherit another class. Very simple. So within parenthesis, you have to mention the parent class. So B of A. All right. So now let me create object B. So we all know whenever any object is getting created, it invokes init method implicitly. So now we have init method in both parent class as well as in its own class. So now what will happen is, whenever the object is getting created, it will check init method first in its own class. If it is present in its own class, only that init method will be executed. If it is not present in its own class, then it will check whether init method is present in the parent class or not. If it is present, the init class from parent will be executed. Okay, but in Java, all the constructor methods will be invoked automatically, but over here it is not like that. Okay, so it's like first it will check in its own class. If it is present, only that will be executed. If it is not present in its own class, then it will check whether it is present in parent class or not. Then it will be executed from parent class. Okay, so at a time, any one method will be executed. This concept applies to all the methods and all the variables, not only to init method. Okay, so now what will happen in this case? I will get the message saying in B. You can see only in B will be printed. Consider I don't have init method at all. Okay, now what will happen in this case? You can see in A, because init method is not present in parent class, sorry, child class. It is just present in parent class. So in A will be invoked. Now consider other scenario, that is hierarchical inheritance. That is hierarchical. C1 is inherited by both C2 and C3. One parent, two child. Okay, one parent, two child. So now I can say class C of A, and then I can write def init of self, and then I can just print in C. All right. So now if I create object C is equal to C, so now we know which init method will be invoked, because as per the rule, first it will check in its own class. If it is not present, then it will go to its parent class. So now it will be executed and it will give you the result in C. Now consider I have defined one variable in class A. Let's say num is equal to 5. Okay, I have defined a variable called num at the class level of A, okay, which is nothing but num is equal to 5. And the same variable I am initializing inside init method, like self.num is equal to 50. Okay, so now whenever we inherit a particular class, I can access its properties as well, right? So now what I am going to do, I'm going to print num using object C. Num using object C. So I can write obj underscore C dot num. Now what will happen? Will it print either 5 or 50? So as per the flow, this init method will never be executed, right? Because C has its own init method. C has its own init method. All right. So this init method will never be invoked. So what will happen whenever you say objc.num, this will display 5 only. See, num using object C is 5. Now consider I have some parameter here called self.value is equal to 2. Okay, self.value is equal to 2. All right, so now I am just printing value using object C is obj C dot value. So now it will be 2, and then now I want to find the exponentiation. Okay, that is I want to do this num star star value. I want to calculate this. That is I can write obj C dot num star star obj C dot value. So in this case, what will happen? 5 square will be the output, right? Now you can see 25, 5 to 25. So I want this init method should be executed. Only then I will be having the value 2. If I remove this, let's say I am removing this. In this case, what will happen? I will get an error. See, num is 50, but I don't have value now. So in this case, I want both the init method needs to be executed. Okay, in this case, I want both these init method has to be executed. How can I execute it? So what I can do is inside this init method, that is inside the child init method, I can say call to super init method, that is called to parent init method. So you have to make explicitly, okay, you have to make the call explicitly like super dot underscore underscore init. Okay, so in this case, what will happen? As soon as it enters to init method of C, it calls the super init method, and that will be initialized with 50, and it prints in A. Then value will be initialized, and then it will print in C. Then now it is 50, it is 2, so 50 square is 2500. That will be the output now. You can see 52, so 50 square is 2500. All right. So like this, you can invoke the super init method. Either you can do like this, or you can say a dot, there is class name dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore of self. This also you can do. The thing is, here we are invoking, okay, here we are invoking via the class name. That's why we are passing the parameter called self. And with this approach, you can invoke any init method. It doesn't mean that it should be the parent of this particular class. But whenever you say super.init, it will invoke only parent init method. That is the difference. Okay, yeah. So guys, please take it down. Please take it down. These two types, and then we'll see two more types. Yeah, thanks Akhilesh. What about you, Ravi? Is it done?
Just going to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next one we have multi-level inheritance. So what is this multi-level? That is, C1 is inherited by C2. In turn, C2 is inherited by C3, and it goes on. C3 will be inherited by some other class. Okay, it can go up to any levels. So now I am going to create the class D which inherits C. Okay, so I can write def init of self and then print in D. Okay, so now let me call obj D is equal to D. So now what will happen in this case? It has its own init method. So in D will be printed. Look at this, in D is printed. Okay, because it has its own init method. So now I don't have the init method in D. So basically what happens here, D inherits C and C inherits A. So now first it will check in its super parent, that is in its immediate parent. Okay, what is this immediate parent? C. So C has its own init method, right? So now you can see the output in A and in C. Why in A is getting printed? Because we are invoking super init method in this. That's the reason you can see both in A and in C. If I don't have this call here, you can see only in C there. All right, fine. So for example, if I comment this out, you can see only in C, that's it. Okay, now Now consider I am inheriting B, class B in D. So now D has no init method. Now what will happen? It will go to B. Let's go to B. B don't have init method. Now it will check whether it is present in A or not. Yes, it is present in A. So now what will happen? You can see in A. So it is nothing but bottom level to top level. Okay. So the method resolution order will be from bottom level to top level. That is okay. And we have here, that is only in Python we have this type of inheritance, that is multiple. What is this multiple? C1 and C2 are inherited by C3. Multiple parent, one child. See, in Java it is possible, but through the concept of interface. In PHP it is possible, but through the concept of tries. Okay, directly you can't do that. Okay, but in Python you can directly do multiple inheritance. That is, consider I have a class called E. Let's say print in E, and then I have class called F, which inherits both the classes A comma E. You can inherit any number of classes here. There is no limit in it. Okay, and then I can write def init of self print in F. Now let me call obj underscore F is equal to F. So now what will happen in this case? We all know very well in F will be printed because F has its own init method. Now let me remove this. Now what will happen? It goes from left to right. First it will check in F. If it is not present in F, it will check in A. If it is not present in A, it will check in E. So left to right. Okay, so now you can see in A will be printed. Now I can create the priority among the base classes. I can change the order EA. So now what will happen in this case? In E will be printed. See here, in E will be printed. All right. So this is nothing but the concept of inheritance. So guys, please take it down and let me know once it is done.
Done for me.
Done, right? Akhilesh. Okay. Right. So now let's see exception handling. So what is the purpose of exception handling? Okay. So what are exception? Exception means errors. Okay. So exception handling is nothing but handling the errors without terminating the execution. Okay, without terminating the execution of the script. That is, we can say it's for smooth execution. There are smooth termination. Okay, that's nothing but it avoids abnormal termination. Okay, so consider I have one statement called print 1 by 0. So we all know very well. Ravi, could you please mute?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we all know this will cause zero division error. Okay, so now if I execute this, you can see it is displaying the error, and then the termination, that is execution of a script, is terminated. Okay, so in order to continue the execution, whenever there is an exception, I can just write try block. Within try block, you can have all the executable statements, and you can have except block. That is, I can write here error occurred. So this is nothing but common exception block. Okay, so now if I execute this, you can see error occurred. So if there is any error happened, it will print the same error message. You can see here error occurred. But this particular message is not feasible in fixing the issue. We should know the detail, like which exception has been occurred and what is the error message. So for that, I can write except exception as E. So this exception is the super class for all the types of exceptions, and E is nothing but object of this particular class exception. Now what can I do is I can just write error occurred, okay, something and something. That is, this is nothing but placeholder. So therein I'm going to pass the parameter to this particular placeholders. That is, I can write E dot underscore underscore class dot underscore name underscore underscore. That is, in order to print the name of the class, in order to display the name of the exception. That is, each and every exception is a class. Okay, so now if I want to print the name of the class, we have to give this E dot class dot name, and then second parameter is nothing but error message. Okay, so this will be printed over here, and error message will be printed over here. So now if I execute, you can see error occurred, name error, name string is not defined. That is the error message. For example, if I change this, that is 1 by 0. If I change that, now you can see the different exception. That is zero division error, division by 0. So this is the common exception block, generic exception block. You can handle any type of exceptions. So we know very well that is there are millions of libraries in Python. Okay, in each and every library we have n number of exceptions. It is very difficult to remember all the names of the exceptions. So if you want to know name of the exception and if you want to handle it specifically, first you can write this block and you can retrieve the name of the exception, and then if you want to handle it specifically, you can just write on top of it like except zero division error as ZE, and then I can write ZE occurred, okay, and then I can just plus str of ZE. Okay, so one try block can have any number of except blocks. Okay, one try block can have any number of except blocks. There is no problem with it. Okay, so now what will happen? Now you can see ZE occurred division by 0 because I have handled zero division error in particular. So specifically I have handled that exception. So it's like multi-level if-else statements. So it will check one after another. It will be executed wherever it handles. So this generic exception is like else class in multi-level if-else. For example, if you place this generic exception block on the top, what will happen? All the exceptions will be handled at this point itself. The except blocks which are placed below this generic exception block will be not reachable. So now you can see the output. Error occurred, 0 division error, division by 0. That is, this is getting printed. Okay, so please make sure you have placed this generic exception block always at the end. Okay, like this. And also you can handle.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Multiple exception in the same block. That is, I can say except name error, comma type error, like this. You can handle any number of exceptions. Okay, now I can say CE. Then I can write common exception block. Okay, and then I can say str of CE. Okay, so now let me just execute it. That is print of string. So now you can see it will be caught in common exception block because it raises name error, and that name error is handled in the common exception block. Okay, so now if I want to, okay, if I want to nest, okay, if I want to have the nested try blocks, I can have like this. So let's say here I can have something like this, try, and if I want to throw the exception manually, because in Java we have keyword called throw, we can throw the exception manually, right? Similarly, here we have a keyword called raise. You can have a keyword called raise. Using raise keyword, you can throw the exception manually. So I can say raise type error, okay, and then I can say type cannot be determined. Type cannot be determined in this function, like this. Simply I'm giving some message, okay, and then I'm just saying accept value error as VE, and then similarly I'm just ignoring the exception here. So now what is happening here? I have one more try block within another try block. In this try block, I am raising type error. Okay, but okay, I am raising type error. But in this except block, I'm just handling value error, not type error. So now what will happen? It will check whether type error can be handled within this block or not. We can't. So now it will check whether this can be handled out, that is in the outer except block or not. So finally, this type error will be handled at this place. Okay, that is the purpose of this nested try blocks. So now you can see the output. Okay, I have made some mistake. See here. Yes. So now let's see. Now you can see here, common exception block type cannot be determined in this function. So whenever you throw the exception, whatever parameter that you pass, that is for the inbuilt exceptions, whatever parameter that you pass for inbuilt exceptions is nothing but error message. Okay, so that's why you can see the same message is getting displayed here. Okay, now apart from this particular block, we have two more blocks. That is, we have something called the else. So this else block will be executed. Okay, this else block will be executed whenever there is no exceptions in the try block. Okay, this else block will be executed only whenever there is no exceptions in the. Finally, this will always be executed. Okay, even in case of exception it will be executed, even in case of no exception, it will be executed. Okay, so always be executed. Okay, so now let's see. Now you can see the output. 1.0 string common exception block is getting executed, so that there is a raise statement manually. So that is nothing but exception, right? So now you can see only finally block has been executed. Okay, now let me just comment that statement and let me just make it empty block here, like pass. So now what will happen in this case? Now you can see else block will be executed. That is 1.0 string else block no exceptions, and finally block always be executed. Okay, clear guys? Any doubts in this? Yeah, take it down. Guys, please take it down.
This is very similar to Java, so following, no problem.
Yeah, no problem, right? Okay. Okay, guys, so we'll stop it today. Okay, so we have modules and packages and user-defined exceptions that we will be covering by tomorrow. So tomorrow it will be maximum till 9:45 only. Okay, so not more than that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be uploading these files. Ravi, are you able to see the files?
Yeah, I was able to see.
Okay, man. So okay guys, so thanks a lot for your time today. So tomorrow we will meet at 8:30. All right, so you can use the same link. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, thanks Ravi. Thank you, Akhilesh.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan, and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.